Hey, friendo, Steve here.
Hey, Larson.
And welcome back to Going In Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to right here at youtube.com/Steve Larson. Available wherever podcasts can be found. And, of course, taped live to Twitch, twitch.tv/Steve Larson. The road to Money in the Bank. And to a degree, SummerSlam is on the horizon as well. And we had a couple more qualifiers on Monday Night Raw last night. Vince McMahon made another appearance, which we'll talk about as well. One of the matches there at Money in the Bank, a title match, has been changed. We're going to talk about all that. But first, the ongoing investigation into Vince McMahon and Hush Money continues. And there's been some more fallout from that, Larson. What's going on?
So, of course, not only was Vince McMahon named in this investigation, also head of talent relations, John Laurinaitis, Johnny Ace. And last night, PW Insider reported that, quote, WWE issued a memo to talent this evening following Raw announcing that Bruce Pritchard is the interim head of talent relations going forward. PW Insider continues, and that, quote, pending the conclusion of our board director's internal investigation, John Laurinaitis has been placed on administrative leave. Shortly thereafter, Fightful Sean Ross Sapp tweeted, quote, Fightful confirmed that talent were informed that Bruce Pritchard is now interim head of talent relations. John Laurinaitis was placed on administrative leave. The only thing surprising about this is this didn't happen sooner, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, like pretty much was it on Wednesday when that story broke, the Wall Street Journal one? You'd think like Thursday.
Here's some reckless speculation, Larson. If you have some sources on this one, it'd be great. Does the timing on this, the fact that it didn't happen immediately, does that speak to maybe the realization that, this investigation might be kind of serious? I wonder if anything's happened between now and then, or between then and now, or then and last night, or if this was just sort of like, okay, let's wait a couple days, see how this plays out, and then we'll take some action. I wonder. Look, there's no way that you and I are going to know, but I just thought it'd be interesting for conversation.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's one of those things where they were just kind of like, well, let's give it a couple days and then we'll see how things are kind of going, or if this was a decision that was maybe made pretty quickly but not implemented till a couple days later, you know, to let the initial heat subside a little bit.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
But it's interesting hearing about who's aware of the Vince McMahon stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, I spoke to my parents last night. They know all about it.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Well, my dad's a Going In Raw insider knew about it.
Yeah, I mean, and like, my parents don't watch wrestling, but they know about it.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see how mainstream news has been covering this story. Mm-hmm. You know, I think we're fairly used to talking about things from a very specific viewpoint, that being the world of pro wrestling and the journalists who cover it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But to also see, you know, various mainstream news outlets cover this. What, Meltzer was on CNN last week, I believe, right?
Yeah, he was. Yeah. Yeah. He zoomed in. Yeah.
And to see that this is getting a pretty massive spotlight on it because of that coverage is interesting.
Part of the Fightful Select article. It's a good read. Had a funny quote here. He talked to several former and current talent there in WWE. Sean did. It said former and present talent alike chimed in with one saying, Vince only knows 3 people, which is such a funny joke, because it's like, it's Vince, it's Johnny Ace, it's Kevin Dunn, it's Bruce Pritchard. Like, why are there no other people? Like, Bruce, what you're telling me, Bruce Pritchard is like, this is just something else you're going to saddle on top of him?
I know.
Didn't he have health problems relatively recently? Now you're going to put this, and whatever conflict of interest there might be. Now the guy who is, as Sean here puts it, the creative filter between, you know, talent and Vince, you're going to saddle Bruce with this now?
I know.
Like, he doesn't have enough going on? Do they think that little of the job that Johnny Ace does, that Bruce Pritchard, who already has the load he has, can now just take those responsibilities too? Those responsibilities are so minimal that somebody can just sort of take those also?
Maybe. I don't know.
Like, that's nuts to me. It's like, man, this is sort of the problem with WWE that I perceive in the first place. And it's funny because this, it's sort of, I don't know. I think it speaks also to the Brock Lesnar being the break glass in case of emergency guy, you know?
Yeah.
Is that they haven't built anybody else who can be a stadium draw. Yeah. And maybe it's because there's 3 people, you know, for the last several decades. I know Bruce and Johnny Ace have been in and out. But yeah, it's just nuts. It's like, what, there's nobody else in the company that could be elevated to this role? Like, there's nobody below Johnny Ace. There's nobody
or that they can bring in from the outside.
They can bring in. Like, it's got to just be Bruce Pritchard. What the fuck?
I know.
Like,
I don't know.
It's crazy.
It is crazy. It's like, oh, hey, you're already working 80, 90 hours a week. Here's a whole another full-time job to drop on you. You
Bruce,
know?
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Another interesting bit here from this was that several talent currently working under the assumption they're not going to have to do business with John Laurinaitis, Johnny Ace again, which seemingly from everything that we've read, I think people would be happy about. I don't think I've heard one person say a good word about John Laurinaitis.
Yeah. I don't think I have either. No. Not at all.
I mean, and it's funny also, like, if Stephanie is actually the CEO, Nick Khan's actually the president, wouldn't you think that they would be like, hey, can we bring somebody else in for this? But it seems like, okay, well, it's going over to Bruce. That seems like a very Vince McMahon thing.
I know.
Now, maybe I'm wrong. I've never been backstage there before, but like, we've read a lot.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I know. It would seem to be a situation where, you know, just from the optic standpoint, if they want to show, hey, Stephanie is operating and Nick Khan are operating independent of Vince McMahon, and maybe this will come down the line. Maybe it's a situation where, like, all right, we got to get Laurinaitis out of here. Bruce, do this for like 3 weeks until we can find someone to be a more permanent replacement. Who knows? In which case, you know, have Stephanie and or Nick Khan announce the new hire. To show that, you know, hey, we're not just here listening to Vince. We're operating independently, you know?
Yeah, right. And Vince is doing we can dive into talking about this now. Vince is seemingly doing everything to indicate that he's there. This dude is not
only that he's there, that is of the utmost importance that he's there and continues to be there.
Right? Like, if publicly speaking, the public, like the face of this would lead the public to believe he's still there. He hasn't stepped down.
So now I just mentioned earlier that the mainstream coverage of this story, you know, people who might not watch wrestling are aware of it. That being said, I wonder what percentage of the people in the crowd last night who cheered Vince when he came out. I know we talked about the kind of Pavlovian response. You hear no chance in hell, you stand up, you know. What percentage of people there are aware of this investigation, and to what degree? You know, there might be some people there who have no idea what's going on.
I think tons of people there have don't watch this show, don't listen to it. I think there's plenty of people who do. I've always speculated, sort of, don't you think it'd be like the same percentage of people who would know who Kenny Omega is if he showed up in WWE? It's like the same, like people who are clued in to anything beyond WWE. And I honestly think it's probably like, I don't know, 70-30. Like 70% of the people don't, because they were just there to bring their kids. They remember when Stone Cold Steve Austin was a thing. They come out, they cheer. Maybe 60-40, maybe 50-50. I don't know. But I get the feeling that there is a split, because when we go to those, you know, we obviously we get people who know who we are because they do the internet stuff. But, you know, obviously there's a ton of people who simply go there to take their families. They have a good time, and, you know, they buy some stupid merch.
And they don't pay attention to the news surrounding the industry. Yeah.
They cheer the good guys and they boo the bad guys. That kind of thing. I get the feeling it's probably that. I mean, like you said, I know that there's mainstream coverage of this, and those people are probably a bit more clued in, I guess, now because of that. But yeah, I don't know. It's not like, I mean, I don't know. It's salacious to a degree because an affair was had and sex was had. But, like, it's not like he's been accused of some of the stuff he's been accused of in the past, like gnarly stuff, you know? So maybe, I don't know, people are like, yeah, whatever. He's just being investigated by a board. What's a board of directors? He's being investigated by a board. I don't know. People are stupid, man. What do you want?
Let's talk more about the content of what Vince said, because again, there wasn't much there. He comes out and announces something I think we were already all well aware of, that John Cena was going to be at John Cena's 20th anniversary celebration next week.
Yeah, this was just him. Yeah, so let's dive further into the psychological analytics of Vince McMahon.
Oh man, did he have a spring in his step or what? He jumped off the ring steps on his way out, man.
Memed himself right into into Reddit and all that kind of stuff. There's all sorts of greats that still of him midair, and people are doing all that shit on Twitter. It's great. He had a super spring in his step. I think he's in a really good mood for some reason. I think he's like, hey, if I get through the, I don't know what he's thinking. I don't know. I mean, it's obviously equal parts ego, trying to say something, make a statement, trying to prove a point.
You know, what did he say on Pat McAfee's show? He likes confrontation. And if he thinks there's a fight ahead of him, that might get him hyped up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if he thinks, well, if I'm in a position now where I have to fight for my company and fight for my job, essentially, that might get him hyped. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But he came out last night and with more energy. Because for years, it seemed like whenever he had to come out in front of the crowd, it seemed plainly obvious he did not want to be there.
There is a big chunk of time when it felt like an obligation to him.
Yeah, and last night he was relishing it.
I'll honestly, dude, part of it might be, because honestly, ever since they came back live, since live audiences were allowed to be back, he's had that spring in his step. Even being like, he volunteered to be on TV with Austin Theory. That wasn't any. He could have not done that. And he seemed to enjoy doing that. Before pre-pandemic, there was a period of a couple of years when it just felt whenever you saw him, it was like he doesn't want to be there. I think these days, I don't know if it's maybe he knows that he's coming towards the end of his time, which would be kind of surprising because I feel like people like him think they're going to live forever.
I know.
But I kind of doubt. I don't really think it's, he knows the end is near, so he's taking like a victory lap and he's saying goodbye. He's getting in while he can. I don't think it's that at all.
No, I don't think it's that either.
I don't think he thinks that he's going anywhere.
No, he if anything, he's reminding everybody that why he needs to stay.
Yeah.
I don't think this is any sort of victory lap. I don't think this is him saying any sort of final goodbyes because he knows he's on his way out. This is him. At this juncture, I'd not be surprised if we get Vince coming out for these short promos with seemingly no point to them.
Yeah.
For weeks now, so he can come out, he can get that adulation, he can get that pop, and remind himself that in his mind he thinks he's probably bulletproof.
Yeah.
And if he goes out there week in and week out and gets pops, that he could say, look how valuable I am.
Yeah.
You can't get rid of me.
Yeah.
You can't get rid of me.
Yeah. And I think he's gonna, I don't know, I'd be surprised if it led to his ouster at this point. I really would. Like, just thinking about it, I don't know, man. The rich people at his level, with his, he's always come off as a bit bulletproof, and that's one thing that Succession goes over, and I think they capture it fairly accurately.
Yeah.
It is hard to get rid of a dude who has been at the top of that of this type of business for so long and so publicly. It's difficult to get rid of those dudes.
Yeah, it's difficult for rich, powerful people to be held accountable.
Yeah, it is. It absolutely is, yeah.
And it's a bummer because sometimes they do really awful, horrible things.
Yeah.
Horrible things.
Yeah.
And then you just got to hope at some point, all right, they're held accountable.
They look at the business aspect, and it's a risk reward assessment or whatever it is. It's like, Vince McMahon, we kind of need him for these $1 billion deals. So, anyways, also Rhea Ripley is out at Money in the Bank. Is there any more info on that? So Bianca Belair cut a promo at the beginning, said that Rhea is not going to be medically cleared by the time Money in the Bank comes around. Money in the Bank is 2 weeks away now?
Yeah, on the 2nd. But I don't think we've heard anything about the nature of her injury that I recall, at least. So this kind of came out of nowhere, at least for me.
Yeah.
But I was kind of surprised to begin with that they were going to have Rhea be Bianca's feud for Money in the Bank. I thought they would save that for the fall, let Rhea get some wins under her belt with Judgment Day, build her up, and then have that feud. Considering that Bianca's not going to lose that belt anytime soon.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
I mean, look, this could be any number of things. We're not going to speculate. I mean, one of the most obvious things that I don't think is out of the realm of possibility to speculate, because we have distinct timelines for that stuff, is just COVID. You know, I mean, I don't know in terms of what the protocol is these days. I always thought it was like 10 days that you had to, the quarantine or whatever.
So Joe Hansen said Rhea got her teeth knocked out the last pay-per-view.
Oh, really?
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. So yeah, who knows? We'll hopefully get some info about that. Hopefully Rhea Ripley's doing okay. Whatever the situation is. The main event of Raw last night featured Asuka versus Becky Lynch in a Money in the Bank qualifying match. This is the second match for Becky Lynch of the night. Also, wait, Asuka was in the 5-way, wasn't she? Yeah.
Asuka both of them were the 5-way, and then both were the main event. Yeah.
And Asuka got the pin on Becky Lynch, clean as a whistle. And so Asuka's moving on to Money in the Bank.
Yeah, it wasn't even her finish either.
I know.
Just kick to the head.
Kick to the head, and that did it. And Becky, of course, the last shot, I believe, on Raw was her, looking about as down in the dumps as she possibly could be. Not quite maybe rock bottom for Becky, but getting pretty close to it. She's not even going to be in Money in the Bank. She's on the poster. That's the point she made.
Yep.
She's on the poster, but she's not going to be, at least right now, in a match at Money in the Bank. What role do you see for Becky at Money in the Bank if she's going to appear on the show? What was that face you just made?
Maggie was put a link to a Sportskeeda article where Rhea tweeted out. This is from, what's the date on that? I don't know what the date is. Her get some dental work done.
Oh, okay.
The caption to said tweet is knee 1, teeth 0. And she thanks the dentist that apparently was doing the repairs. And someone else posted a still of her knee hitting her right in the face.
Ooh. Wow.
So I mean, it could be that she can't risk any contact to the face for a certain number of days if allow the teeth to reset or something.
Yeah,
anyways, what'd you ask me?
That could be. Becky Lynch, not going to be in Money in the Bank match, not going to be in the Money in the Bank.
They'll have like a last chance 4-way match or something like that for the final spot, I'm guessing. And I mean, it's possible she could win that, or it's possible that she could not. If the idea is, when is Becky going to reach rock bottom? In the event that she's not on the card,
that'd be weird. That'd be really weird.
Yeah, you got to think she'd find a way to interject herself somehow.
Even if it's like, if she's looking at Asuka as the bane of her existence right now, as the source of her problems. Maybe costing her Money in the Bank. Possibly. I don't know. You can make the case for all sorts of stuff. Today on Overrun, on our bonus show, we're going to talk about likely outcomes for Money in the Bank. It's not too early. We're 2 weeks away. Still a couple spots left. Let's talk about men's Money in the Bank really quick. Right now we've got Amos after last night's win against Riddle. We've got Sheamus and Drew McIntyre. They both were able to qualify themselves in, and even though they had a qualifying match against each other. And of course,
Seth Rollins.
Freaking Rollins, which leaves, is it
3 spots?
3 spots?
They do it 7 this year, I think.
Oh, shit. Okay, cool. Which leaves 3 spots.
Wait, you said 5. Wait.
There's 4 right now.
Yeah, 4. Okay, that's right then.
So there's 3. There's 7 spots. Wow.
3 is right.
3 more spots for men's Money in the Bank.
You got to think they'll have a match between Ezekiel and Kevin Owens for a spot.
That seems right. So Kevin Owens moves ahead there. If they did, that last, what did you call it? One more shot.
Last chance, yeah.
Last chance thing.
Yeah.
I could see Riddle getting back in just because he'd be a good addition to that. It seems like they're probably going to do AJ Styles versus Miz at Money in the Bank, or maybe that's just going to be a Raw feud. But I feel like it's weird not to have AJ in the match, to be honest with you.
I know.
Honestly, if you're the Miz, don't you make the case, hey, shouldn't I be in this thing?
Yeah.
Like he's a 2-time winner.
Yeah.
So, or maybe
he's a one-time winner of the match, but he had the briefcase twice.
Yeah, what is it? That was the Otis trial.
That was the Otis one, yeah.
Yeah, well, he
was awarded it in the court of law.
He's a 2-time Mr. Money in the Bank. You could get around it by saying that.
Yeah.
Sammy. Oh, yeah, Shinsuke versus Sammy's going down on SmackDown. That's a qualifier. So yeah, boy, both those guys. But that's got to be Sammy make that match so much better. Put him in that match. God, he's doing such good work these days.
He really is. Let's talk about someone else doing good work. Ezekiel, Elias. Mm-hmm. Elias returned last night.
They did 2 of the scenarios I don't know if we'd actually said they were going to do a split screen, green screen type thing that they did. I don't think we said they were going to go that far with it because I was kind of surprised. I was like, oh, they got him in the same shot. They even did a little fist bump thing.
The fist bump was well done. I think all they did was just, they had the fake beard on Elias on one side, had him change, or they probably did Ezekiel stuff first and then went to the Elias since the Elias stuff was live in the ring. And probably just, locked the camera down, did one half of the shot, and then did like a really good job with the fist bump.
I think they just did the time because there was cuts between them. So they probably just had him do the fist bump a million times, or they had it on they probably had it still on camera.
Yeah.
And they were able to sync it up. Yeah.
Because they do it quick, and if they're a little bit off, it's fine. You won't notice.
I think it was a couch in front of a green screen because I know it was like a pattern, but it kind of felt a bit green screenish to me. But yeah, they did that, and then like you said, he comes out to the ring. The fake beard was pretty effective. You could tell it was fake because everything's HD and 4K these days. But it was a lot better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
I thought if they tried a fake beard, it was going to look really bad, like Saturday Night Live bad. But it was pretty decent.
I kept on worrying during the concert that it was going to start falling off.
Oh, they had to have glued that thing down.
Oh man, yeah,
it probably sucked to take it off. Yeah. And so he was in the ring. He, of course, he gets interrupted like he always does. This time it was, of course, by Kevin Owens. No, I'm going to immediately cut you off.
Yeah.
And so he has his spiel. And then, of course, to prove that they're 2 different people, like we had speculated up on the Tron. Hey, Kevin, I'm up here. Yep. Oh, man. And Kevin, of course, piecing together exactly how they are doing all this stuff. But then backstage, the reveal of Ezekiel, who then had to have, if Kevin Owens is correct, had to have gotten dressed or, redressed as Ezekiel, taking the beard off and met him backstage in that short period of time.
Yeah.
Kevin Owens driven to the brink of insanity, Larson.
Yeah, it's been solid stuff. They've actually done a really fun job with the storyline, and a lot of credit goes to the talent involved, both Ezekiel / Elias and Kevin Owens, because in other hands, this might have been really flat.
It would have been unbearable in anybody else's hands, but I was actually really happy to see Elias back. In my mind, when I'm watching, I'm like, oh yeah, they're 2 people. They've done such a good job of separating these personalities. I'm actually buying into if Elias went away and they just had Ezekiel at that point, I would buy into him being a different person than Elias, even though I clearly know they're 2 different people.
Yeah.
Or they're the same person rather. So anyways, let's go ahead and dive into it.
Let's do it.
Kicked off with the Bianca Belair promo. She comes down, says, I look forward to every opportunity to defend my title. I was looking forward to defending my title against Rhea Ripley. She says, I wish I wasn't the one that has to break this news, but Rhea's not going to be medically cleared to compete, so the match isn't happening yet. But when Rhea comes back, I'm going to be waiting. Until then, who will I defend my title against at Money in the Bank? She says, tonight, 5 women, Alexa Bliss, Liv Morgan, Carmella, Asuka, and Becky Lynch, will compete in a fatal 5-way match to see who. Every time I say Bliss's name, my thing goes off.
Yeah.
Well, find out who's going to face me at Money in the Bank. Of course, and they do the procession of everybody comes out and says their piece.
Yeah. First is Becky. She talks about how she's gotten denied all the opportunities that she's had to win, and talked about all the hoops and obstacles she's had to overcome. She says, I should be champion now after what happened at Hell in a Cell. Asuka's out next. She asked Becky if she's still crying. Is she still a big-time baby? Liv is out next. She's like, I'm in a great mood. I already qualified for Money in the Bank. That's something you haven't done, Becky. But here, I'll trade that opportunity in to get a shot at Bianca at Money in the Bank. Then it's Carmella. She talks some trash to Liv. And then Bliss is the last one out. And she pretty much gets on Carmella about saying that Liv rode her coattails to get Money in the Bank. She brings up Ellsworth, calls Carmella a hypocrite. And then Bianca's like, all right, well, you're all here. We're ready for some action. Let's get this match going. And it was next. And it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, it was an absolute blast. It was a lot of fun. Carmella ended up getting the win here. You and I are both big fans of Carmella. She has been one of those people. She's almost always used. They've given her a couple of different repackages. Never has sort of been seen as, the one. But she always does terrific work. And
yeah, she does.
And I think this could be a really fun match at Money in the Bank with her and Bianca Belair. Was anything else about this match stood out to you that you wanted to point out?
No, it was a really fun, really competitive bout. Afterwards, Becky goes backstage at gorilla position and starts complaining to Pierce about how she had the match won. She's like, I should have won at Hell in the Cell. I should have been champion to go to commercial to come back. She's still complaining to Pierce. She says, I'm on the poster for Money in the Bank. I should be number one contender right now. How am I not on the card? And Pierce says, well, before this match happened, you were going to be in a qualifying match against Asuka. You can still earn your shot in Money in the Bank if you want to do that. And Becky's like, yeah, let's do it. And then Pierce says, all right, that's fine. That happens tonight.
Yep. After that, that's when no chance. Ah, God damn it, I'm here.
Tonight marks the 1,517th edition of Monday Night Raw, which continues to make it the longest-running episodic show in history.
Because of me, God damn it. He didn't say
that was the subtext, yeah.
yeah.
It's without me, this doesn't happen.
You give us the subtext here, Larson.
And for that, I say thank you. God damn it.
Shower me with praise.
Raw's been on the air for almost 30 years. 20 of those years have been dominated by the greatest superstar of all time, who I made.
Yeah. And who will return next week? John Cena, yeah.
He's going to return next week. John Cena, God damn it. Multimedia superstar. My creation.
Yeah. And then on his way out, he jumps off the second step of the ring steps.
Oh, yeah, man. Surprising he didn't blow out both of his
some quads.
Tear his quads again, yeah.
Yeah. We got a Brock Returns recap. They announced, at least on Raw, I guess they announced this before, that Roman versus Brock at SummerSlam is going to be a last man standing match.
Yep. After that, we had Money in the Bank qualifier, Riddle versus Amos.
There was an awful lot of talking during this whole bit.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah. Kicked off with a Riddle promo. I'm really getting tired of the Randy stuff, dude. It's so, because he when he talks about like, oh, I came so close and it was important for my friends, my family, but more importantly, Randy. It's just getting kind of cringy at this point. And I think that they're really doing a decent job building Riddle up as like a solo guy. Yeah. But he gotta cut it out with this stuff.
Well, I mean, I'll say this in defense of it, kind of. If this is gonna lead, I guess the problem is if Randy was due back soon, I would get it in that, he's going on and on. I'm trying to do this all for Randy, and then he fails at every turn. Randy could come back and say, like, you were doing this for me, and yet you failed at every turn.
Yeah, right.
How much have you really learned from me? Yeah. There could be a story to be told, but if Randy's not going to be back for 9 months or something like that.
Yeah. It just makes me, I hope it's not just his gimmick now. It's like, oh, Randy's gone. His gimmick is, I'm sad Randy's gone.
Yeah.
Anyways, he says 1 month ago, Randy may have had his career ended at the hands of the Bloodline, and that day I made a promise to myself and Randy that I'd get vengeance. Last Friday I was close, went toe-to-toe with Roman, but at the end of the day, he's a tribal chief. He beat me. He said, I let myself down, I let the fans down, and more importantly, Randy. So I might be down, but I'm not out. Like I said, Roman will have to kill me to stop me. He says, maybe I can't challenge for the Undisputed title, but I can win Money in the Bank. He says, I know it's a long shot. By the way, he's got rib tape, too, selling the effects of the spear. He says, it's a long shot, and I can cash in on Roman. He says, I can end the reign of terror and finally get that sweet vengeance that me and Randy desire. He says, there's a lot of competition out there, including that punk-ass Seth Rollins. And he said, speaking of which, I'm going to get you. He says, I want to hit Seth with a ladder because he hit my boy Cody in the chest with a sledgehammer.
Mm-hmm.
MVP and Amos walk out. MVP asks Riddle basically if he's high because he's been hanging out with Snoop again. And they just talk a lot. Riddle
there's a
talks,
lot of talking.
Yeah, there's a lot of talking here. And then Amos beats Riddle. It was, for being a one-dimensional in-ring wrestler, people usually get the most they can out of him. In this case, he was crushing Riddle's ribs a lot because that's what he was targeting. He was like, get him up here, he'd do the bear hug thing.
Yeah.
And eventually, I think, he hit a choke bomb.
The choke bomb,
yeah. And then he gets the win with that. After the bell, he hits Riddle with another choke bomb, and then Seth Rollins comes to the ring. Riddle gets to his feet. Rollins gives him a cheap shot, throws him out of the ring, calls for a mic. So Seth starts talking. He says, I don't share airspace with losers, and Riddle is the ultimate loser. He says, first you lose your buddy Randy, then you lost to Roman, and now you've lost your opportunity at Money in the Bank. Truth be told, I shouldn't be too hard on Riddle because it didn't matter if he qualified because no one in the field can beat Roman. Only one man can beat him, and you're looking at him. He says, Roman's been ducking me since I emotionally dismantled him at the Rumble. He says, but in less than 2 weeks, I'm going to collect the Money in the Bank contract, and Roman can hide all he wants. But he said, I'll find him. And if he thought the first time I cashed in my Money in the Bank was cool, well, you haven't seen nothing yet. And then Riddle blasts Seth from behind, but Seth gets the upper hand pretty quickly and hits him with a stomp.
If after Money in the Bank ladder match we get a Seth and Riddle feud through the summer, that should be entertaining. And it's something I never thought we would see a couple of years ago.
Yeah. What do you think is more likely to happen? What do you think is more likely to happen? Goldberg versus Riddle or Brock versus Riddle?
At this juncture, I'd say Brock versus Riddle.
Probably Brock because I don't know how much wrestling Goldberg's going to be doing anymore. But yeah, you'd think that given what we had heard about what happened backstage with Riddle and Brock,
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I'd still be pretty surprised if either of them happened, but I would be less surprised if Brock versus Riddle happened.
I think if Riddle continues on this trajectory and he has like a killer feud with Randy when he comes back, mm-hmm. that might make Riddle into the big deal that I think they want him to be.
It could be.
In which case, if Brock is still wrestling, then I could see that match maybe happening.
Yeah,
but it might be 2 years.
Possible. Yeah. Next, we had a Theory promo. He was on top of the podium. And about to recreate the pose down from last week. He says, everybody wants to know what it's like to be a prodigy or the new chosen one, or even better, the new face of WWE. He says, I'm not expecting anyone to relate to me, the youngest U.S. champ in WWE history. He says, last week I stood on this podium and showed the whole world my physique. It proved that Lashley couldn't touch me. In fact, nobody could touch me. He says, at this point in my career, I'm already better than Lashley has ever been. And next week, that might be the 20-year Cena celebration, but his time is up. And my time is now. And he says, and the crowd starts booing. And he says, is that unfair to say that about the greatest of all time? Wasn't fair. It's at the pose down last week. Y'all didn't get to see all my immaculate poses. So tonight, you're going to get to see the most perfect body in all of WWE at the Invitational Theory pose down. So he oils up. He does his poses and he's talking crap about Lashley. And Lashley comes in. The ring stands behind him. And Theory wraps up, tells the crowd, shut up. He asks them, why are you chanting for Lashley? Stop doing that. And he takes a selfie, and he's looking at the picture, and he realizes that Lashley is back there. So he does a slow turnaround. Lashley squirts baby oil in Theory's face and then spears him off the podium.
I thought this segment was a lot better than last week's.
It was. It was a lot better.
The clever bit about him taking the selfie and then having a look at it because he sees Lashley there. That was pretty funny. And on top of that, dude, he did what we were talking about, what he should have been doing last week. I thought he was pretty funny when he was actually doing the poses. Oh, you want the side chest? Here's a side chest.
Yeah.
I thought that the entire time, I think having the mic with him here, I think it's actually a really smart move to put that mic on him because if there's one thing he needs to improve upon, it's his improv stuff. It's off the cuff remarks. It's really going to get him. Oh, this guy's pretty funny. We're going to start to like him as a heel. Yeah. And you just stick that thing on him. So he doesn't have the opportunity to not talk.
Yeah.
And I thought he was pretty funny last night. I thought that the whole setup was pretty clever.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty solid too. We go to commercial, we come back, we get a Theory interview backstage. He says Lashley doesn't deserve anything. He says Lashley only wishes he could hold the U.S. title. He says, but I was just in Adam Pearce's office and suggested an idea that Pearce accepted. He says, here's the idea. Lashley has to defeat 3 other opponents in a gauntlet match. And if by some chance he wins, which he won't, then I'll defend the U.S. title against Lashley at Money in the Bank.
Yep. After that, we had Jey Uso versus Angelo Dawkins. The Usos come out for a promo first. Talk about being the undisputed tag champions. We hold all the gold. The Bloodline's running both shows, and we're smashing everybody. And Roman's going to smash Brock again, and we're going to smash the Profits again. And Profits get to the ring. They do a lot of talking, and then they have the match.
Yeah, which Dawkins wins.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He hits
sort of the Usos thing, and like they just get killed in like singles competition, and then
I know
they always win their tag matches.
I know. So Dawkins hits the silencer. That gets him 2. He's looking for the spine buster. Jay counters that with the knee. Hits the super kick, goes up top, and he jumps right into the pop-up spine buster from Dawkins.
My favorite part of that commentary, noticed it afterwards, was Jimmy, when Jay started going up top, just turned around and put his one up, thought he was going to win. And then when he heard the ref count, he went 1, 2, 3. And then he heard Dawkins, the Street Profits music was... It was like, my guy lost. That was pretty damn funny.
Then we're backstage. Elias is sitting on a couch. He's strumming his guitar. There's a knock. Ezekiel enters. They're sitting across from each other on the couch. So Ezekiel says, there's a lot that's happened since I last saw you. I made my debut here in WWE. I won my first match, but I still got to deal with a lot of doubters like Kevin Owens. But hey, enough about me. What's new with you? Elias says, I've been traveling the world, writing songs and playing shows, but nothing compares to playing in front of a WWE crowd. And Ezekiel kind of gives him some crap about, hey, you used to come out to shows and talk crap about the crowd. And Elias says, no, I'm a changed man. Seeing you live your dreams, hearing the crowd cheer you on has changed my own perspective. I'm proud to be performing in front of the fans in Nebraska. I just hope they remember what WWE stands for. Walk with Elias. So Ezekiel's like, yeah, this means the world to me. I know our parents are watching this. And, maybe you'll see me in the Money in the Bank ladder match. Imagine me winning that and winning the undisputed title. Because then everyone will want to speak with Zeke. And Elias tells him, hold on, don't get ahead of yourself. But I'm happy that I see this wholesome kid like you have a mean streak. I like what I see. And hey, brother, I love you. But now I got to tune up before I perform. And Ezekiel's like, all right, brother.
Do the fist bump.
Yeah, the fist bump. Well, they got close enough,
Yeah, it was like right. It was like right here, kind of. Yeah, it was good, man. It was good. So after that, we had the Elias concert. He says, it feels great to be here in Nebraska. I want to thank you guys for welcoming me back and taking care of my little brother, Zeke. He says, I'm here for a couple reasons. One of them is that there is a universal truth and that WWE stands for Walk with Elias. And everybody plays along with that.
Yeah.
He says, in light of everything that's going on, I'm going to kick things off with a song dedicated to my brother. And then, of course, he starts to play Kevin Owens. No, I'm interrupting this immediately. And he says, I'm putting an end to this charade. Nobody wants this concert. You're a liar, a disgusting liar with no integrity. He says, you might have the people of Nebraska fooled, but not me. He says, I know that Elias and Ezekiel are the same person. That video didn't fool me. Movie magic, they can do anything these days. He says, I saw a movie with a dinosaur in it last week. I saw a T-Rex could fly a helicopter. That proves nothing.
That was great.
Fucking hilarious. So Zeke shows up on the Tron. He's like, hey, Kevin up here. He says, do you get it now? I've been telling you the truth this whole time. You have to accept it and move on. And Elias says, hey, man, it's clear as day. Neither of us are lying. He says, but to make it clear, how about I sing a song? And he sings a song about Kevin Owens being a liar, and the crowd starts chanting KO as a liar because that's the chorus of the song. So Kevin Owens tells him, stop, enough. He snatches the guitar from Elias. He throws it out of the ring. Crowd boos. Elias hits him with a jumping knee and then grabs another guitar because he has a couple of them out there, breaks it over the back of Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens stumbles backstage, so we're backstage now, clearly a pre-tape segment.
Yeah.
Kevin walks in for an interview, and he's asked if Kevin is now convinced. And he says, why would I be convinced? I can explain it all. He probably pre-recorded the stuff on the Tron. He glued a beard on. He says, but what I do know is my back is hurt, my knee is hurt, He says, but I know I'm challenging one of them to a match next week. Doesn't care if it's Ezekiel, Elias, or even their younger brother, Elron. And then Ezekiel steps up. And he's like, hey, man, I heard your challenge, and I accept. And Kevin Owens legitimately looked confused. He's like, how did he get from here to there,
Yeah.
It was good stuff.
Yeah, it was pretty well done. Then we got the gauntlet match, that if Lashley wins, then he gets a U.S. title shot. The first match was Lashley against Chad Gable. This was good stuff. Mm-hmm. Lashley, though, wins with the Hurt Lock. The sequence to get to the Hurt Lock was great.
Awesome.
That wheelbarrow up right to the Hurt Lock. That was awesome.
Yeah, it was great.
As soon as Gable taps out, Otis attacks Lashley, and he's thrown Lashley around ringside all over the place, and finally gets in the ring. Bell rings for their match. Lashley is looking for a Hurt Lock on Otis eventually, after Otis got a bunch of his own shit in. Lashley eventually hits the spear, covers. Gable breaks up that pin, so Lashley wins by DQ. Alpha Academy just destroy Lashley. Gable hits him with the German suplex. Otis follows with a splash. Lashley's third opponent is Theory himself. He's looking pretty quickly for an A-Town down. Lashley counters with a roll-up to get the win, so he'll get his U.S. title match.
Yep. After that, we had a Bianca Belair interview. Says she wasn't surprised by Carmella's win. Talks her up, says she's always been an amazing competitor. She's like, I'm not going to underestimate her. And then bang, Carmella attacks her. And then she says, oh, you're always ready, huh? Says, watch your back, because Mella's money. And then we had Miz TV with AJ Styles. And it's just sort of, I'm not going to go over everything. It's just Miz, basically saying that AJ has been going through a lot of shit lately with the Judgment Day stuff and joining Judgment Day. Not qualifying for Money in the Bank. And
he calls him a failure.
And then he calls him a failure, yeah. And then AJ's like, oh, is that supposed to sting? He says, you're naive. And he says, obviously you don't watch college football because this is Cornhusker territory or country. And he says, since we're talking about corn, you must feel like a failure knowing that your wife married a guy with tiny popcorn balls. Tiny popcorn balls.
This thing about Mrs. Balls, front area.
Yeah.
Is this a rib?
I don't know, but it certainly feels like an old school rib, huh?
It does, doesn't it?
You think he's got tiny balls? Did somebody see his balls? Oh my!
I don't know. Maybe
it's such a Vince thing, dude.
It really is.
Yeah. So Miz fights back. So this is not becoming a thing. He says my balls are massive, and AJ, eggs on the crowd. They're chanting tiny balls. Miz fights back. Says no, I have massive balls. So AJ, Miz then says, what's it like to be a huge disappointment like AJ? And AJ says, oh, Miz is trying to get me to lose my cool. He says, I admit things have not been going my way. I'm not in Money in the Bank. That's on me. He says, one of my friends turned his back on me. He says, but I've been through adversity before. That's how I became phenomenal. When I get disrespected, I don't run my mouth like the Miz. I do this. And he punches Miz with the mic. And then Ciampa lays out AJ from behind. Ciampa's looking to lose another match, Larson.
Yep, that's exactly what happened. AJ hits the phenomenal form to get the win. A solid, 3 to 5 minute bout. And then Miz gets in the ring, takes a swing at AJ. AJ ducks it. He hits Miz with the Styles Clash and then puts on Miz's sunglasses.
Looked like, what was his alter ego in the Southpaw?
Malibu Al? Is that what it was?
It looked like Malibu Al, yeah. After that, we had kind of an awkward Veer Mahan interview. Yeah, they do it from the Okerlund position. Is that what they call it?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
So it's that weird thing. It's sort of a stage, whatever. And he's asked about, hey, you beat the legend Rey Mysterio last week. And he says, well, what I did to the Mysterios was just the beginning. He says, WWE has never seen hunger like mine before. He says, I love carnage. No one knows how to stop me because I can't be stopped. I'm not going to be stopped until there's nothing left to pick off the bones. Fear Veer is the catchphrase.
I at least like that he's talking in his normal voice instead of,
I appreciate that too, and I think that, with a bunch more reps, he'll become a better speaker. He was sort of using weird, there was a couple sort of botched phrases he had here. That's an intimidating position to be in when you have the crowd behind you and just sort of like a sea of people out there. And you got to now not be the monosyllabic monster, You know, now you have to speak like a kind of a normal person, but still be intense. I feel like the direction here is wonky for him, and it's going to take him a second to get confident on the mic.
Oh, probably, yeah.
But I hope he gets there because I think he's got a lot going on for him. I really do.
Yeah, I do too. Then we had our main event, Becky Lynch versus Asuka. Spot in the Money in the Bank ladder match on the line. This is a really fun match. You put Becky and Asuka in the ring, good things happen.
Oh yeah,
they got
absolutely.
Great chemistry.
Yeah,
They're awesome.
I could watch them wrestle every week, man.
Yep. So the finish saw Becky looking for a manhandle slam. Asuka tries to reverse that into a roll-up. Instead, Becky just sits down, gets a 2. So Becky's looking for a disarm her. Asuka escapes that, kicks Becky in the head for the win. And then Becky just throws an absolute fit ringside, and then just kind of slouches against the ring, distraught that she is at this juncture not going to be participating at Money in the Bank.
Correct. And that is your Raw recap. Let's go ahead and answer some questions. I have a questions thread here on the on the Patreon. Patreon.com/Steve and Larson. If you want to check out some bonus content, we got a bunch there on the Patreon, including today's episode of Overrun. Every Tuesday, we give you a bonus episode at the $5 and up mark on Patreon. It's a great way to help support Going in Raw. Every Thursday, we've got The Numbers Don't Lie. This week, it is AJ Styles we're going to be looking at. And then also later on this week, I'll be posting up the first episode of Steve W After Dark, only for patrons. It's a dark match that we filmed after Steve W last night on
Question for you.
Yes.
Did you run some commercials during this episode of Steve W?
Brand new commercials. New one for Del Taco. That was probably from like 1981 or so.
Interesting.
We had a new one from Crush Soda that had a cameo from Ian Ziering.
Interesting.
Yeah. From like, I don't know, pre-90210.
Huh.
And then a couple of the old favorites. Of course, the Gilson family are big benefactors of Steve W. You know, they're the last.
They bankrolled this whole operation, yeah?
Yeah, it's the last chunk of their mowing empire money, which, you know, unfortunately got sold to the Deere Corporation long
John
time
Deere,
ago.
right?
John Deere Corporation after a horrific accident with Fred Gilson, rather. The eldest son of the Gilson family. So there's a lot going on there, man. It's very complex, deep storylines.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. First up, Blake Whitehouse says, does Montez Ford's greatness overshadow just how good Angelo Dawkins actually is? Montez Ford is very flashy in everything he does. So I kind of feel like it does, yeah.
It does to a degree. Dawkins is very steady, and he is very good.
He is very good. He's very consistent. I think his character can become like a super relatable one if they did split. That being said, I think Montez Ford has that extra thing that just screams he could be a single star, like a big star. Yeah. Josh Field says, do you think we'll continue to see more events?
Yeah. I
think
for
you're
the
right.
foreseeable future, he's going
right,
to shoehorn himself into as many shows as possible to get those cheers and in his own way remind people why not only is he still there, that why he needs to stick around.
It would not shock me if he showed up at NXT.
Yeah.
Would not shock me. Alex Foster says, what challengers would you want to have shorter feuds with Roman? He gives an example, Xavier Woods. He says he never got payback for Roman breaking his crown. I think that's a good idea.
That's true. And Woods got a DQ win over Roman that Heyman then had to lobby to change to a no contest.
You know what could be a wildly fun feud for Roman? Sheamus.
Yeah.
With Butch and the Fight Club, the Brawling Brutes or whatever they're called. Sheamus, number one, can put on phenomenal matches. The crowd, I think, would easily sort of side with Sheamus because I think he's at the point where he just puts on really good matches. Butch is over. And I think people would love to see Sheamus step up to Roman in that respect. I think that could be really fun as like a short-term SmackDown feud, you know?
Yeah, but I guess the potential issue with that is if Roman is predominantly wrestling on the major pay-per-views and not the B shows.
Yeah, I know.
And showing up on TV kind of intermittently more often than not to promote those matches, it doesn't leave a whole lot of opportunities for Sheamus.
Well, it doesn't leave opportunities for anybody. I mean, if we already know what his you're right in that the premise of this question, unfortunately, probably won't come to pass because there won't be any short-term feuds. You know, look at that guy.
I mean, right now we see a short-term feud that's not going to pay off for another month and change. You know, and that's Brock coming back.
I know. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Enforcer says, Steve, who would win in a pose down, Cheeseburger or Haas Hart?
Well, the Hart family, I think one thing that I don't think they're practicing a lot of down there in the Hart dungeon is posing. You know, they're about the substance, the meat of wrestling.
Yes, not the flash.
Cheeseburger,
not the sizzle. They're about the steak.
Right. I think Cheeseburger would probably win the pose down.
Yeah, could be. White Brownie with Bobby facing Theory for the U.S. title at Money in the Bank. Does this still lead to a Cena Theory match at SummerSlam? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Theory's going to
beat Lashley. Yeah.
He's probably going to have to cheat to do it, but yeah, that's going to happen.
Yep, he will.
Nick Kyle says, give a faction name for Ezekiel, Elias, and Elrod beginning with the letter E. Evolution 2.
There you go.
Timur Rahman says, what food would make the best food to use in a food fight?
For some reason Jell-O pops in my head because especially if it's like really gelatinous, you can grip it, throw it, but on impact it'll all over the place.
I think J-Rock Dad here is the first time chatting in our Twitch chat. He's got it right. It's just pie. Because pie, it can temporarily blind your opponent. You got it all over their face, but it doesn't it's also a projectile weapon. It explodes on contact.
Yeah.
Pie's the way to go.
Delaney Demand with a majority of the fields filled. Who are your Money in the Bank winners? I could see the power couple of Seth and Becky walking out of Vegas with the briefcases.
We're going to talk about that on Overrun today quite a bit. I don't know. I'll have to think about it between now and then. Because Seth is sort of peaking. You sort of go with who's peaking in the moment.
And especially after going 0 for 3 against Cody.
Yeah, this is going to be the make good for that.
And, you got Roman and Brock again at a stadium show. A lot of parallels. Although at this juncture, if Seth tries to cash in, he's going to fail.
Yeah. Oh, you think so? Yeah, you're probably right. Because Roman ain't dropping that title.
No.
That could be.
Although Seth is the one guy who could make the claim that he has both Roman and Brock's number. Because he's beaten Brock too.
Yeah. I mean, if this is all about putting notches, these years are all about putting notches on Roman's belt, It's like, surviving a Seth Rollins cash-in. Acknowledge me.
Yeah.
It's all about make goods for Roman, yeah.
It really is. A lot of his feuds are all about make goods over past losses or past disappointments.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's a good. Let's see here. We have no idea about that one. How far? Oh, Mayor Planet Houston says, how far do you want to see Becky Lynch spiral into insanity? I think your assessment that this is going to culminate, she's going to hit rock bottom at SummerSlam by getting beat by Bianca.
25 seconds.
Yeah.
Yep. And then she should seriously go after the 24/7 title because then at least she has a championship. And from there, she can start climb back to the top.
All right. That's going to do it for us. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate it. Like I said, at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, we'll be doing Overrun today. Get there at patreon.com/Stephen Larson. Also for YouTube channel members and Twitch subs as well. So hopefully we'll see you there. Thanks for watching. Till next time, we'll talk to you later.
Goodbye.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Stone Cold Steve Austin impersonator Phil McDonald, here to tell you to go support Going In Raw and Friendo Club at patreon.com/Stephen Larson. They got bonus episodes, ad-free audio, a weekly newsletter rounding up the week in wrestling news, and a bunch more. Patreon.com/Stephen Larson. Go support or get hit with a stunner.